Hey everybody, welcome to the Geek Reloading podcast. I am your host Josh this episode, and with me for the first time ever, my lovely wife Mindy.
Hey everybody.
Okay, so we've done that like four times, trying to figure out. So
Josh had to ask me how to start the show because I'm a longtime listener and apparently he doesn't listen to his own podcast.
I do. It's just Adam does that part and he's the good one. Anyway, speaking of Adam, as you can see, he's not here.
Or hear that he's not here.
Or hear that he's not here. Yeah, that's true. But so, yeah, he is in the middle of some stuff. If you've listened to the other podcasts, it has been a lot of work for him moving and all that. So I think he got buried under his DVD collection, and I think they're still trying to dig him out. So he'll be back soon.
It's an immense DVD collection. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't his game collection. That's scary.
Even worse.
Yeah, that's scary. Anyways, so this week we're actually going to talk about the Ready Player books and movies. Yeah, I guess Ready Players is now the way you say it, because there's Ready Player 1 and Ready Player 2.
Yeah, I guess I don't like that Ready Players series, like the name of it, but I guess that's what it would be.
You're just thinking of some absolute baller?
I don't know. I thought
Playa.
the fact that he named his second book Ready Player 2 and it had nothing to do with like the second player in anything was kind of lame to me. I mean, yeah, it's the second book, but
okay,
there's no Ready Player 2.
Okay, so right now we're gonna say this: both Mindy and I have read Ready Player 2. We just barely finished. Well, I just barely finished it. She finished it before me. She reads a lot faster than me, a lot. Anyways,
it's only been out about a week, and so it is actually a feat that both of us have managed to finish it in relatively the same time, because that never happens.
Yeah, that's very true. So, all right. So we're going to try to keep this spoiler free for at least the second book. The first book, if you haven't read it by now, you're not going to, or whatever.
It's been out like 9 years. There's a movie.
We'll talk about the movie too. We just watched that as well, but anyways, yeah. So this book is one of my favorites. Like, I love it, and because of the whole concept of video games. Like, I really like the concept of video games and other stuff, not video games. Mm-hmm. You know, like I like SAO, I like different things like that. I like reading about video games. It's weird.
Yeah, well, okay, so a brief synopsis for anyone who doesn't know. Ready Player 1 takes place in a not-so-distant future. It's like in the 2040s or something. And basically, this eccentric billionaire video game guy has created an immersive world called the Oasis. And the world has gone to shit. The real world has gone to shit because everybody's in the Oasis. So global warming is still a thing, and it's worse.
No one cares about the real world because they can escape to the Oasis. Yes. And it's like every video game you could think of and more, all wrapped up into one, because everyone can create their own worlds and build like entire planets dedicated to the video games they love.
Do the players actually get to do that, or is that more of like a creator thing? Because they talk a lot about the creator saying, okay, so the creator essentially was like a huge 80s buff. He was a teenager in the 80s, and so pretty much everything that happens in his first book, he basically starts a quest after he dies, sends out these keys and these eggs, and people have to find them to basically, if they solve his puzzle, his big long game, then they get sole ownership of the Oasis.
Well, and because he owns the majority of the company, he had his co-partner, anyways, but so he owns the Oasis and he wills it to whoever wins
this game.
Mm-hmm.
This treasure hunt, basically.
This treasure hunt, yeah. And so he's really into 80s pop culture. He grew up in the 80s, so he's just kind of obsessed with them, and so he kind of puts that flair into everything in the book. So we just watched the movie, and it's different. Like, I just realized, like, there's not a lot of 80s culture in the movie at all.
I think there's a spattering. I remember when we first heard that the movie was coming out, and we were so excited that Spielberg was going to direct it because there's a ton of Spielberg references in Ready Player One.
In the book, it's just like everything. Like,
but of course, because he was like the guy of the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And so...
him, John Hughes, a couple others, like, are literally like co-creators of the Oasis, because everything is there.
Yeah. So, I mean, except for... some of the quests involve 80s things, but not so 80s based.
All the quests in the books are just complete 80s. I mean, there's stuff where you have to play through a movie by being one of the characters, and
you get rated and points.
War Game is one of them. Like you have to be the main character, and you have to say his lines word for word. And if you don't, then you're gonna get exactly. And so I mean, it's playing through this thing, and it's crazy, but it's a really interesting concept and everything, especially you can see like the obsession of the creator of James Halliday and his love for the 80s, and then he's put it into everything else, and then pretty much forced the rest of the world to become one of the most, richest people in the world at that time in the book, where to force them to become 80s fanatics as well. Exactly. But going back to the movie, you're right. There aren't a ton of, like, specifically 80s references. There's not. There are some... Like, he drives around in a DeLorean. Yeah, but I mean, it's more pop culture-y. Like, I saw a DeLorean a couple days ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. And so... Yeah. But it's literally just kind of pop culture-y stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of nods, but there's a lot more new stuff. Well, the end of the whole quest in the movie is the same game that's in the book. And that's Adventure from Atari 2600. And, if you haven't read the books, you should. You should stop this podcast, read the book, and then come back to the podcast. And don't read it. You should listen to it, because Will Wheaton narrates, and he's such a great narrator of these books. Yeah, and seriously, like, he's actually mentioned in the first book, which I thought was so funny, because... Mm-hmm. There's, like, a little poster in the second book, like he's running for president or something. Or not in the second book, in the movie I just saw. In the movie, there's like a little... Will Wheaton for president, and he looks a little bit older. I'm down. I'm totally down with it. Let's do it. If Donald Trump can be president, I guess anything's possible, and at least, Will Wheaton aligns more with what I believe in, so... Yeah? Yeah. Geek? Okay, that's true. I definitely align geek as well. But yeah, I mean, like, the whole book is about Dungeons and Dragons and video games and just pop culture to a crazy degree. And it's such a fun book, and it's just such a, we were both born in 82, and so we were kind of young for a lot of the 80s stuff, but still, it's got a lot of... Well, some of that is timeless. I mean, for me personally, I love John Hughes. I've always loved John Hughes. So and probably part of that is because they were like on TBS on Friday nights when I was a kid. Yeah. You couldn't escape the Breakfast Club the original, what is it? The holiday movies that you like. Oh. Huh? No, the card company. Oh, Hallmark. Hallmark movies. The original Hallmark movies. John Hughes was the originator of that genre. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, like, a lot of the characters are like really connected to these 80s figures and stuff. And so some of them almost went over my head a little bit. Mm-hmm. But it's still like, there was a lot of stuff where you kind of connect. Like, Wade, his character Parzival in the game, he drives this DeLorean that's called Ecto 88, and it's got like the computer from KITT, from Knight Rider, installed into this. I mean, it's such crazy things that it's just a mishmash of all these pop culture references. It's just a fun book.
It is really fun. And it's funny because I knew when it came out, I read a synopsis and I knew that Josh would love it. And so I had bought it for him or downloaded it for him. And I said, this is a book that you need to read. He's always looking for books that will interest him.
Yeah.
And then he said, oh, no, you've got to read this book too. And so we were taking a road trip for...
So I listened to it first, and then I was like, we have to listen to this again. And I was just like, Mindy was just like, you just listened to this. You want to listen to it again? I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so for our anniversary, I
think it was our first anniversary.
Yeah, just after we got married the first year. We were going down to Vegas. We were staying in a hotel down there just to get away and have a nice little vacation.
Yeah.
And we listened to the book the entire time. One of my favorite things about Mindy is I can talk to her. Like we've taken a few big road trips, and I don't care about listening to music. I don't care about listening to books. I don't care about listening to anything. I just like talking with her. We just have great conversations. But that trip was the first time we both were like,
no, we could listen to this book.
Yeah, I love you. Yeah, there's a few things we could talk about, but let's listen to the book.
And it wasn't just that we listened to the book in the car. It was like we got the book, we took it inside, we found the iPod port in the hotel, and we listened to it when we were in the hotel. Like, I remember we were like doing a Lego set or something.
Yep, it was the Falling Water Lego set.
Which must have been what I got you for our anniversary that year. Yep. And then anytime that we were driving around Vegas, and we both hate Vegas, so I don't even know why we picked there.
We've gotten to the point where we just don't care for it.
But we would be putting it in the car. It would follow us around.
We'd go drive places just to have time in the car so we could listen to this podcast.
This book.
From this book.
Yeah.
Listen to this podcast about the book we were listening to.
Yeah.
But seriously, like, it's such a fun book. Like, I've loved it. And I was really excited. Like Mindy said, like, when I heard that Steven Spielberg was connected to it, which in the movie, like, there was only a few things that I can think of, like King Kong and the T-Rex.
But I feel like he probably had more producer credits than we realize in the 80s. And so I feel like he was connected to Back to the Future. I could be wrong.
I'm not sure.
Or Iron Giant. I think just having Spielberg connected at the very least got them to, like, got people to give them the rights to use their images.
A lot of stuff.
And you know,
like,
things like that.
There's a ton of Master Chiefs at the, you know, and then there's
a ton of Overwatch, like, tracers in background characters, and I think it's because it came out, like, in 2016 when Overwatch was huge.
Yeah, and so they connected that. Yeah. There's a little nod that Mindy had to point out for Borderlands that I was like, wait a minute, I didn't even see that.
And Ninja Turtles and Battletoads. I mean, it kind of spans all the decades as far as
it just has so many things. Mm-hmm. And it was just funny, like, Chucky was in it. That's always a bad thing, but I mean, seriously, the movie is just big dumb fun, really.
Yeah. I was reading about it just, you know, to get a basis, and it's like 72% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Comparatively, you know, compared to, like, big dumb fun movies.
Well, and also, like, if you have a book and it gets transferred into a movie, 9 times out of 10, if not quite a bit more than that, it's never as well received.
No. Like The Dark Tower.
Oh, that's sad.
We don't speak about that movie.
That's just sad. Trying to do all the books in one movie doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Surprise.
Even if you have Idris Elba as your gunslinger, which was amazing.
Yeah, he was pretty amazing. But yeah, like, Fight Club was one of the only books. Fight Club and the Will Smith one, where he was in the post-apocalyptic New York. Zombie-ridden.
Oh,
anyways.
I can't remember. It's going to drive me crazy.
Yeah, it'll come to us. It was the saddest moment when the dog turned into a zombie.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. That was a much better movie than it was a book, by far. Like, whoa.
Except for the dog part, the only thing I remember about that movie really is that he had the Starry Night hanging in his apartment because he just, like, looted all the museums. I would totally do that.
That would, definitely. But like, really, not many books or not many movies live up to the books, and really,
None of the Harry Potters did.
No. I still love the first because it's magical and got me reading the books.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the first in theaters like 11 times or some stupid crap, but I can't watch it now.
See, Mindy and I kind of got a connection because of Harry Potter. I wasn't normally into reading by that time, but I got into reading Harry Potter and loved it. And so we got talking, and I didn't have a lot of friends that were very academic almost about pop culture-y things. We've kind of come around to it now. A lot of my friends have. But yeah, Mindy...
This was like 12 years ago when pop culture wasn't academic.
That's true.
It is now.
Yeah. And Mindy was a TA for an English class that I was taking, and she had written a paper about the family structures in Harry Potter, and I was interested, so she let me read it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting to talk about geek stuff in a very intelligent way. And so anyways, we got way off topic there.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so Ready Player One's great books. Like,
the book is fun, the movie is fun. I mean, you have to go in knowing it's a popcorn movie, knowing that, you know, it's not going to solve any problems, but it's not super problematic, I don't think.
I would say if you go in there just going, I just want to look for Easter eggs, you'll have a grand old time.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, just, you know, think about things you want to see, and it's probably in there in the background, you know, just random, but it's really, really pretty awesome that way. I think there was, anyways. So the next, like, we don't want to go too far into it because we just read Ready Player 2, the sequel to the Ready Player 1 book. And so first off, we'll just read the book jacket.
So you have a brief idea of what it's about.
Do you want?
I can read it, sure.
Yes.
Are you ready? Days after winning Oasis founder James Halliday's contest, Wade Watts, he's the main character, I don't know if we said that, makes a discovery that changes everything. Hidden within Halliday's vaults, waiting for his heir to find, lies a technological advancement that will once again change the world and make the Oasis 1,000 times more wondrous and addictive than Wade dreamed possible. With it comes a new riddle and a new quest, a last Easter egg from Halliday, hinting at a mysterious prize. And an unexpected, impossibly powerful and dangerous new rival awaits, one who will kill millions to get what he wants. Wade's life and the future of the Oasis are again at stake, but this time the fate of humanity also hangs in the balance. Lovingly nostalgic and wildly original as only Ernest Cline could conceive it, Ready Player 2 takes us on another imaginative, fun, action-packed adventure through his beloved virtual universe and jolts us thrillingly into the future once again.
I'm so glad that she was willing to read that. I would have not read it very well. But so I think I don't know. I don't want to give any spoilers. And
I think we can talk about the basic. I mean, because it happens within like the first chapter or even in the prologue.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Basically, Wade uncovers that in addition to the Oasis, there's this other thing where you can basically virtually experience everybody or
so
take on other people's experiences.
James Halliday pretty much creates the nerve gear from SAO. He's got a helmet, puts it on it, reads your thoughts, scans your brain, all that, and
you can live as another person, basically. You can experience their experiences.
And it's a new way to connect to the Oasis. And honestly, I was really impressed and surprised that on how... Because the first book tied up things so well. Mm-hmm. Like, it really did tie things up. You know, guy gets the girl, you know, everyone gets, you know... all the bad guy gets defeated, like all this stuff. And I was really wondering how they were going to go on from there.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was hoping it was going to be like a different point of view, a different character, hence the Ready Player 2 part.
Oh, you were hoping for Artemis's point of view on all of it?
Yeah, she's the main girl. She's way more interesting than Wade. Like, you can't even argue with that.
She's a better person. Like,
she's a better person. She's a more dynamic person.
She's a better person. She's more dynamic. Yeah. She's kind of one-dimensional in the movie.
In the movie, yes. And I would say she's only one-dimensional because it's Wade's point of view, and he's a very one-dimensional kind of thinker.
Yeah, but I mean, I honestly feel that's explained well. Like, I think that's a good thing, because she is very driven and focused, and then he's just in it for the escapism, really.
Yeah.
Like, he gets connected to the egg hunt in the first book because he is already in the Oasis, and he already wants to be part of something special, but in the Oasis.
Yeah. And
Artemis has reasons for it. She's there for other reasons, and I think that makes a big difference.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, you're going to be a multi-billionaire. You're going to be Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates rich combined. And so it's
like chic level, it's like
what do you want to do with that? What would you do with that kind of money? And that kind of defines them as characters, because she actually wants to change the world. She wants to help global warming, and she wants to help poverty. And Wade is like, oh, I'm just gonna get a spaceship full of all of my favorite shit, and I'm gonna get the hell out of Dodge. Like, that's almost an exact quote.
Yeah, he actually pretty much does say that. But like, he comes around, like, in the book they explain, like, all of the high five from the book, like, they start their own charities, like, trying to help the people that were like what they were. And I always thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, like, Wade's kind of super one-dimensional, really, because he's helping kids get connection to the Oasis. That's really what his foundation is for. Like,
yeah,
underprivileged kids being able to connect to the Oasis. Getting
an escape. Not trying to fix anything.
Yeah.
Not trying to,
just making sure that they're...
He did help housing so he lives in what they call the stacks, and basically it's a trailer park but stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, like these big metal structures where trailers and like vans are just stacked on this big metal scaffolding. And it's just like they're packed in so tightly that they're right next to each other.
I mean, there's no space.
Yeah.
There's no resources, and nobody cares because they're all escaped into the Oasis.
Yeah.
And so there is a point where he does spend some of his money, like, relocating them and, like, getting them actual housing, which I thought was good.
His home little slum, pretty much.
Yeah. But he only takes care of, like, stuff that affects him directly.
Yeah.
He doesn't think globally at all.
Yeah, his personal connection, that's where he's connected to.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, and it's really interesting. But I mean, also, like, especially in the second, you see the connections. Like, you can see H and Show, they kind of connect to Ogden Morrow.
You're naming a bunch of names that our podcast listeners who haven't read or seen this.
You should just read this or watch the movie. If you haven't, you wouldn't understand most of this stuff anyways. But, so H is Wade's best friend in the Oasis, meets him there, gets to know him, finds out he's a she outside of the Oasis, which is awesome reveal. It was actually done pretty good in the movie as well as the book.
That was something about Wade's character that I actually kind of liked. He's like, oh, okay, well, I don't care. I don't care. So
you're my friend.
He wasn't, like, homophobic. He's not homophobic, and he's not, like, transphobic, and he's not genderphobic, which is enlightening for, like, a bro kind of book that this is.
Yeah. And actually, that was one thing I really was worried about when the movie came out, is how they were going to do H. Mm-hmm. Because one of the big things for me was H's smile, the big Cheshire cat grin. And
it's the same.
It is, and it's the exact same. They must have modeled it after the actress. It was so perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. That was such a cool connection, because you could see it, like, she was that character. And H in the movie is this big giant gray skin orc looking guy, and mech orc, I guess.
Yeah.
But, like, you can see, like, a lot of the stuff in the face, it's her. It's Helen. That's her real name. But yeah. Anyways, so I completely lost track of where I was going.
You were just talking about how they, they were going after Ogden Morrow, who was the other partner. It doesn't matter.
I really like because it kind of showed like they kind of had their own people, like Wade,
their own idols.
Yeah. Wade idolized and followed in the steps of Halliday.
Halliday, the guy who created the whole thing, that created the Easter egg game.
Yeah.
So they were partners. They were best friends, Halliday and Ogden Morrow, and they fell in love with the same girl. And that split them apart, as it does, as it does. And the girl went with Ogden Morrow because he's, like, a real person, and he wasn't, like, obsessed with her. He just, like, saw her as a person.
He became her friend. And
Halliday just, kind of put her on this pedestal that she could never live up to. And then wackiness ensues, especially in the second book, about that.
Seriously, like, the second book, I was really impressed because it had a lot of... It stepped up the excitement, the reason why they're fighting, the reason, like, their time frame that they were looking for the Easter eggs and all that. It really stepped it up, but in a believable way. It wasn't just very, like, manufactured, like, oh, you have to do this because of this. Like, it's kind of like that in the beginning, where Wade is the only one really looking for the shards.
Yeah. He becomes the eccentric billionaire who pays someone $1 billion to find him clues.
Yeah, and...
Like, I don't think he realizes that he's doing it when he's doing it, but he's becoming Halliday. He's becoming a douchebag.
He's becoming the worst parts of Halliday.
Yeah.
And, like, that just makes it so almost cringeworthy, but they actually address it in the book.
Yeah,
and, like,
they do pretty well.
They make it a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, Ernest Cline knows his stuff. I mean, his other book, Armada, is really fun as well. Like,
Here's the deal about Ernest Cline. I feel like the dude... Okay, so he's 10 years older than us, so this is like the 80s are his heyday, right? But I feel like in writing these books, he just did like a shitload of research, and he doesn't want to let it go, and he has notebooks full of research, and he's just going to keep writing books based in the 80s until all of his research is gone.
I could see... I mean, the second book is not as... seeped?
It's not as seeped. It's still there, though. It's like, I mean, but like the first one, it will hit you over the head.
It is literally
with the
like
80s references.
An homage to the 80s. Like, everything you could think, like, it's just like neon smacking you in the face repeatedly over and over the book. Like,
neon, the color?
Neon. Everything. Neon lights.
The colors.
Neon colors.
Okay.
Neon everything.
All right.
The parachute pants, like, everything. It's just hitting you in the face.
The parachute pants is probably early 90s. When you think about it.
You're right. I don't know. It's all the same to me, honestly, at this point. But
it's not. If you were to create a world, and because he's 10 years older than us, so I figure most of our references would be in the 90s, what would you have to include?
So what she's explaining is, like, in the Oasis, people have created their own worlds, and so, like, there are all these, like, Warcraft. There's a Warcraft world, and so all the Warcraft stuff is there.
Oh, there's Lord of the Rings worlds. I mean, it doesn't have to be like
4 or 5. Like, there's all these. I mean, they port older games into the thing. Mm-hmm. I think for me, the game that I got lost into the most probably was Destiny. Mm-hmm. And I think it's got a rich enough, like, stuff in the back, like, behind it. It's got a great set of storylines and everything that not a lot of people read because it was just on the website. It wasn't in the game. Mm-hmm. And I think I would create a world that would encompass that, and, and have the Traveler there, and
not kill Cade.
Rest in peace. Still choke up a little bit, but no, like have all those things, and, like, really put the lore into the game rather than have it just somewhere else that no one ever accessed.
Yeah.
So I think I would create a Destiny world.
Even more than like a Final Fantasy kind of world, like, because I know that there's a lot of backstory lore sometimes. I mean, because you're always watching like Final Fantasy movies based on games and
the thing with Final Fantasy, for the majority until I think 10, honestly, I think 10 was the first one that actually had a sequel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and 15, the one with lightning. 15? No.
13.
Yeah, that one had a sequel as well.
Fucking 13. But yeah, that had 2 sequels. It had 13.2 and 13.3.
See?
Lightning's Return or something. Anyways, but besides those, like besides the actual sequels, because 10 had 10.2, and I mean, there's more sequels now, but before that, every story was its own story. It was the Final Fantasy of that world.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want to go to that world? Wouldn't you want to go hang out with Cloud and his giant-ass Buster Sword?
I would definitely want to hang out with them.
Defeat Sephiroth and all that?
Like, I've spent a lot of time there, but I think I've spent more time in Destiny, because, I mean, Destiny was like... It's got so much, that's the thing. You know, maybe a Halo world, like, maybe, you know, the Ring in Halo. That would be kind of a cool world. What about you? You just want to create a little farm called Stardew Valley.
I would love to live in Stardew Valley. I want to go see how Emily's doing and go see about Clint and see if I can get them to hook up. And
oh, no.
Yes, he's obsessed with her.
The best mod that there ever was for Stardew Valley is replacing Clint. That Clint, I liked him at the beginning, and then I went through that story, and I was just like, I really hate this guy. I really, really hate this guy.
See, and I don't think
You just want to go and get with your wife.
No, Abigail's boring. She would drive me crazy in real life. She'd drive me crazy in real life. She drove me crazy in the game. She's like, oh, we gotta have kids. We gotta have more kids. We gotta adopt some kids. And then I was like, no, I'm done with you, Abby.
And then just go and make your kids into doves.
I didn't do that. I didn't even divorce her. But I had like 400 hours in that one, and I was done. I could go back. It's on Xbox.
That's true. You could. I just know you slowed it up with the entire town.
Well, I was getting bored with Abby, and so I was like, oh, I'm going to go woo everybody else, because Abby's boring.
That was funny, because I remember her standing on the porch, pretty much waving at you, and you were like, all right. And then you were like, go down and talk to Leah.
Gotta go talk to Leah, give her some wine.
Yeah.
But I would want like a Hogwarts land, because...
Oh, of course.
I mean, if J.K. Rowling isn't getting any money, that's even better. You know, if I'm creating it, that's better. But, you know, when we went to Harry Potter World at Universal, I mean, I couldn't talk.
That was pretty epic. That was pretty awesome.
So I'd probably want to do that. You know, like recreate my Stardew Valley island and just kick it with Agnes and...
Not Stardew Valley,
Animal Crossing, yeah.
Yeah, Agnes. Yeah.
Kick it with Agnes and
hang out with
Molly.
Hang out with my boy. Got to go and see Cranston, my boy.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love pop culture, but I don't think I want to be fully immersed in it. I would definitely never, ever, ever do the experience other people's thing that's like so prevalent in the second one.
Yeah. Well, I think what we'll have to do is we'll have to do another like spoiler podcast.
Yeah.
And just be like, maybe give it a little bit of time so people can catch up, but be like, here's the spoiler of this, and then like really get into it.
But hey, it's, you know, the first week of December when this comes out, and it's a perfect time to get gifts.
Yeah.
And Ready Player 1 and 2 2-pack is probably not that expensive.
No.
For the reader in your life or the gamer in your life. Really.
And you should get your gamers into reading too, because they're really good, because menus are a lot usually. So, anyways.
You're ridiculous.
No, Adam and I have talked about that, how we've gotten better at reading because of video games.
That's true.
It is true.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's what we're going to end it on, because we could talk about this forever. But
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, because that's the best. And I'm very happy to have my wife sitting here podcasting with me. So anyways, thank you. All our information is at the
Stinger.
On the stinger, yeah, as Adam says. He knows the terminology. And
I do too, because I'm a listener.
Yeah, you are. Anyways, yeah, let us know if there's something that you'd like us to talk about. If you want Mindy back on, I probably will have her on anyways, because I enjoyed talking with her. If
you have an opinion about Ready Player 1 or 2 you'd like to share.
Yeah, we'd love to get into those weeds as well with people. So
yeah, for sure.
Anyways, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Geek Reloading Podcast with Adam and Josh. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Have a question? Email us at geekreloading@gmail.com. Theme song titled Rocket by Kevin MacLeod. You can rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast on your preferred podcast service.